We are witnessing the beginning of an economic collapse. Hey, everybody. Happy Labor Day to everyone. I'm recording this on September 5th, 2022, which is Labor Day. We've got some economic, financial news, business news to get caught up on today. And we'll get more into the details about the headline and what that means and how we know that this is the beginning of an economic collapse. Now, first, let's just talk a little bit about what Labor Day is. Labor Day, of course, is a U.S. holiday that's celebrated on the first Monday in September of every year, and it's to recognize the American labor movement and the works and contributions of laborers or workers to the development and achievements of the United States. And Labor Day also signals the official, or the unofficial rather, last day of summer. Now, the official last day of summer is going to be Thursday, September 22nd. Now, what I like to remind people here is that how many jobs are created because of an economic boom, and the economic boom that's created because of the money creation and all of the accumulation of debt and all the loans that are given out for people to make purchases that normally could not afford those items. It creates multiple problems. One of the problems is rising prices. When people are going out and buying things that they normally could not buy, that causes unusual or inorganic demand, and that causes rising prices. But at the same time, it also makes the economy look better because of all the jobs that are created. So I'll break it down very simply for you. Imagine all of the jobs that would be lost from the car dealerships if car loans ceased to exist. If people could no longer borrow money to buy a car, how many car dealerships would we have remaining? Would any be remaining? Maybe zero, because it would only be cash buyers. You see what I'm getting at here? So a lot of jobs are created because of an economic boom. Economic booms are always in conjunction with people accumulating and taking on a lot of debt. Right? So do you think it's a coincidence that we see rising prices at the same time debt mounts to all-time highs? And we're seeing all-time high debt now, breaking the records that we saw during the financial crisis, during the housing bubble. All those records were broken, more debt now. So the question is, how many people are in jobs today, working jobs today, that will not be around once this debt has reached its limit? And when we're talking about the limit, we're talking about the person's limit to borrowing, right? How much more debt can people put on their credit cards before they can no longer make even the minimum payment? And people play musical chairs with their debt. They transfer it from one credit card to another to get a lower APR. They use home equity line of credits. There's a lot of different tricks that people are using or have used to keep this debt balanced, or to keep this debt from going out of control. But there will become a time, and we're going to call it here the bankruptcy storm, and I predict that that's going to happen here starting this year, I think towards the end of the year. But we're already seeing the second half of 2022 play out pretty much like we predicted. Falling home prices as households get further and further towards their maximum debt capabilities. Combine that with the higher interest rates, higher mortgage rates. Combine that with the cost of living that's still very high overall. You may see some deflation in home prices, but where else are we seeing deflation? Anywhere else? Not hardly. Automobile prices still going up. Fuel prices came down a bit, but they're starting to go back up. And my guess is that towards the end of the year, we're going to start seeing fuel prices skyrocket again because nothing's being done to really fix it. There's some people out there that are saying that when the bankruptcy storm hits, Americans will stop traveling or will travel a lot less than they used to because just they're maxed out on debt, and that would cause a drop in fuel prices. We'll have to see. And we'll have to see how many rescue programs come out. And also, what are they doing to keep this bubble inflated? Well, in our previous report, we talked about the zero down loans given out from Bank of America now to select people to certain groups or individuals, and also no credit score, no minimum credit score required. And that sounds like subprime on steroids when it comes to getting a mortgage. And it's very dangerous. But that's what we've always said here. These things can take a lot longer to play out than most people realize. There's people that have been predicting home prices to fall for years now. And we saw what happened in 2020, how they came in, they rescued the housing market, they prevented foreclosures, we had eviction moratoriums. And we know that the eviction moratoriums, they caused rents to stay artificially high because landlords, they couldn't collect rent from millions of people, so they had to collect more rent from the people that were paying. And that's one of the reasons why we saw record increases in rents over the past few years. All right, but let's move on to some more recent news here. And it's not going to be very pleasant news, unfortunately. I wish I had more good news in the economy, the business world to bring you. But let's talk about Bed Bath & Beyond. Now, a few weeks back, we talked about the situation with Bed Bath & Beyond, how they're closing down hundreds of locations, and how I compared Bed Bath & Beyond right now to what Kmart looked like before the company failed. The stores are not kept up very well. There's a lot of things laying in the aisles. And this is what we saw at Kmart before the big bankruptcy. We saw, probably because they were trying to cut back on their labor budget or their labor force, they're hiring less people and they're trying to get people to work less hours, trying to get their workers to do more. For example, one person doing the job of maybe 3 different people in the store to try to cut back as a last resort. But now we see what's happened with Bed Bath & Beyond. The chief financial officer of the financially struggling Bed Bath & Beyond, and I'm trying to put this in a way that's going to be friendly for this platform. He went skydiving without a parachute. So he went skydiving off of a New York City high-rise. He was 52 years old and he jumped off of a 57-story skyscraper. And recently, it was reported that Bed Bath & Beyond is going to be closing about 150 of its stores and cutting its entire workforce by 20%. And last month, we saw the Bed Bath & Beyond stock plunge after a 350% spike before that. And we saw Ryan Cohen took a large stake in that struggling retailer. Now, there were some investigations going on with individuals at this company, including the CFO, regarding a pump and dump scheme where the stock gets bought up and pumped, and then insiders or owners of the stock go ahead and sell it all at once and leave basically a lot of bag holders. And we know that pump and dumps are very common throughout the financial industry. Could that be a reason why this financial officer went for a jump without a parachute? Now, there seems to be a lot of people out there that think that inflation is just going to go away somehow, and they think that more spending will somehow reduce inflation. Well, we don't have to go back in time very far to see that this never works. The money printing, the creation of new currency, doesn't solve the problem. It actually adds fuel to the fire. And here's a headline from a couple years ago. Remember all the spending that came out, all the new money creation that came out. 40% of all currency created was just since the health crisis in 2020. We know that was a big inflator of prices. It was a big cause of the inflation. CNBC, here's why economists don't expect trillions of dollars in economic stimulus to create inflation. And we see that was July 2020, just a few months after the onset of the health crisis. And this was a real article published by CNBC, and these expert economists, it looks like they were wrong once again. We see inflation since that time, over 2 years ago now, has broken records. But yet at the time they were saying, no, this new spending is not going to cause more inflation. Now we have this new fight against inflation, this new bill that was passed, the Reduction Act. And what's going to happen? Is it going to make the cost of living come down, or is it going to make everything worse? Please let me know down in comments. I think most of you, probably 99% of you, know the answer. And thanks everybody for being here. Hope everyone's having a great Labor Day. And I wish I had better news to bring you. Maybe I'll start a comedy channel to kind of balance things out here, and I can wear a clown nose and, you know, squeeze the nose and go and have a lot more fun. But until then, this is the economic news for today. Peace, everybody. Keep stacking. Bye for now.